Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. This is some really important information for you to think about, and this is not just for the vehicle owners, the clients, the customers, the DIYs, it's also the workshops, the workshop managers, the dealerships, everybody. Let's have a bit of a laugh first because you've got to see the funny side of everything. So, this is a bit of a bit of entertainment. To a certain extent, we're going to get to exactly how serious this is and how much of a joke it is. So the old hourly rate sign that hangs up in workshops that's traditionally a bit of a joke sometimes can be quite serious. So the first problem with hourly rates, I'll give you some examples, okay? So it's all a matter of perspective. Some perspective is needed, okay? So the bigger the business, the higher the rate. That's not the only aspect to it, but the bigger the business, you need more people, okay? So, and it goes the other way as well. So the bigger if you've got a massive business, you've got big overheads, you've got big land, big building, you've got managers, you've got all the different levels of managers, you've got office staff, there's all these things go on. It's not just the technician. So that hourly rate needs to have enough in it to cover all those wages and all those overheads, okay? So that's one aspect. So then you look at it and you say, you're a mobile mechanic, you work on your own. You kind of got lower overheads, but you've got a vehicle to run because you're mobile. You've only got one hourly rate, okay? So the idea of a business is to make profit. Let's remember that, okay? The idea of the business is to make profit, not just buy yourself or set up yourself a job and do a job that owns you, which is what happens to a lot of people's businesses. It owns them, okay? A lot of people buy into franchises. We shouldn't get into this in this video, but I think you've just purchased yourself a job, and I'm sure there's plenty of people watching that have made that mistake. And I wish I was there to tell you I would recommend you don't do that. There's a lot of people I know that have and that still continue to buy franchises. They put money out there. They've just locked themselves into paying money to the man. On top of your tax, your GST, you're paying money to the man, whether you're making money or not, whether you're making much money or not. So that's another story. That's another video. That's why you need to subscribe, because important information coming your way. Now, hourly rates, let's try and stick to the topic. There's workshops out there that have got hourly rates of, I've heard of $80 an hour, $100 an hour, this sort of thing. Now, I'm not having a go at anyone. I'm just trying to help you understand, right? Now, there's workshops out there that you can pay $100 an hour and you get some really good technicians, okay? There's workshops out there where you pay $150 an hour and you can have some kids working out the back, okay? So there's a lot of inconsistency. Now, let's first talk about what should the hourly rate be. Now, that's a good question. We've already said the idea of the business is to make profit. So the first thing that needs to happen to make profit, you need to have an employee or employees to do the work. So to employ someone, there's minimum wage and stuff like that, right? You're not going to keep good people on a minimum wage, right? So minimum wage. Let's understand that first, okay? So if you can go and collect trolleys at Coles for $20 an hour or something, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to get some exercise, you'll be out in the fresh air, get some vitamin D, you might need to wear a hat and sunscreen in summer. Pretty easy job, So for 22 or 25 an hour, you're not going to get a really good technician and keep him, right? He can go and get a job, and no disrespect to the truck drivers. We need truck drivers, like the thing in the back says. Without trucks, everything stops, right? But it's a pretty straightforward job. I'm not saying it's easy and anyone can do it, right? But you're kind of sitting there. Look, don't take it the wrong way. This is a thing, I get it. You're sitting there, you're a steering wheel. You call yourself steering wheel attendants, right? So you're sitting there, you're steering. So what's going to be better, mate? Steering a truck for 40 or 50 bucks. It depends what truck, semi, B double, whatever. A lot of variables, overtime, long shifts, whatever the case may be. But truck drivers make good money, okay? Double what a mechanic makes, maybe. You know what I mean? So how is it that a steering wheel attendant gets paid double what some technicians do? So you got a fully qualified technician working in a dealership. A motor vehicle has got so many different aspects, electronics. You're kind of like an electrician, a plumber, you're just everything. I'm not going to go into it. You're everything. There's so many different aspects. You're like, if you're building a house, you're a chippy. You do timber, or you're an electrician, you do the electrical, the plumber does the pipes. On a car, you're doing everything. And it's kind of a lot more complex. I think I'd rather build a house. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is it is one of the hardest jobs and it's not, people aren't getting paid that way. Now, when I was at school in year 10, automotive class, I went to a tech school. The teacher spent a lot of time speaking to me and had time for me, and thanks for that. What was his name again? Jeez, what was his name? Ron. I'm not going to say his last name. Ron. He had an XD Falcon. I don't know if he's still around, but if he's watching this video, that'd be awesome. G'day, Ron. But probably not, I'd guess, because he's probably got better things to do, maybe. I don't know. He doesn't need to learn about cars, right? He's probably, geez, what was he then? He was probably about 50, so he's probably in his 80s, hopefully. But look, the point is, what was the point? What was he trying to say? He said there's going to be a shortage of mechanics, technicians. At that time, we were called mechanics. We were still called mechanics then when I was at tech school. And he said there's going to be a shortage because this is the problem. He goes, this dealership, they take 6 apprentices a year, okay? And he said the problem is, he saw what was happening. You got a growing population. You got more cars, and the money's crap, and you can't keep. He said it back then. He goes, there's going to be a shortage later. Things are going to get harder. More electronics, more diagnosis. People can't think. They don't want to learn. I've got another video called Think, Think, Think. Now, this is sort of goes, I don't want to go off topic from the hourly rate too much. So this is the thing, right? So to get the right wages, and I'd suggest to keep a good technician, you've got to you need to be paying him good money, mate, you know? Look, he needs to be getting a couple grand a week, okay? He needs to be on 100 grand a year. That's right. That's what you need to pay, you know, and I'm not saying that's minimum. And you know what? No, we're not dreaming. You want things done properly on your car, you've got to pay the right money to keep the right people. You can't be saying, oh, 150 an hour, that's a bit rich, and then going, oh, look what they've done to the car. You can't have both, mate. It's either you pay the money, then you can complain if something's not right, or you get a $100, $80 an hour job. Well, you know what? What do you want, mate? Pay peanuts, get monkeys. Now, so you've got to pay the right money to keep the right people. The industry isn't keeping the right people because it doesn't pay the right money. Whose fault's that? Well, maybe VACC could have done more earlier, okay? We're not having a go at them. That's the Victorian Automobile Chamber of Commerce. That's in Victoria, right? I don't know whether they care. I don't know if they're going to watch this video or not. Maybe someone's going to send it to them. Anyway, the point is people need to get paid more relative to the job they're doing, and it's not happening at the moment, okay? Hasn't been happening for years, and it doesn't look like there's any sign of any change. The business owners and managers are partly to blame. Sorry, guys. I mean, stop the competing with other workshop. Oh, you know, we've got to compete with them. There's no competition for people that are doing the job right, okay? Okay, look at these rates. You think they're a lot? You think that's a lot, 180 an hour? You know what I mean? Like, bit of a joke, you know. You know, I mean, maybe that's not a joke, but, you know, you got mates rates and you got your annual specials. Let's have a look. If you want to watch, it adds a little bit, say 220. If you want to help, 235. If it's muddy, 250. See, this is what I mean. Is this a joke or not? I don't think it is a joke. If you try to do it yourself, look, sometimes you just wreck stuff, make it even worse. So, you know, it's not really 300 an hour. It's just going to take twice as long to fix all the problems you've caused. Now, if you want to watch and help, 350 an hour. So look, it's a bit of a joke, but there is some truth to that is what I'm trying to say. Now, you might think this rate's high, 180. No, I don't think it's high. I think it should be about average for the automotive industry. Now, some aeroplane, what do you call them? Plane mechanics? Aeroplane mechanics? Aeronautic technician, or whatever you call it, right? There's whatever terms, there's different jobs in that industry, but these guys, some of them, you know, they get paid a lot more, mate. You know, like I think the hourly rate they base on to work on planes is more like 250, 300 an hour, and you might think, oh, but planes are big, that's why. Doesn't matter how big it is, right? And I'm not saying that cars or planes are easier or harder than each other. There's probably some aspects on cars that are, you know, it's all kind of really similar. It's just same, different, same. It's like working on boats or working on motorbikes. It's kind of like, you know, you kind of need to have, you just can't have trolley pushers working on cars, and that's what you've got. You've got people that come in, that there's a shortage, so they might get a job at a tyre place, they start fitting tyres, and they get into brakes, and then they're doing oil changes. Next thing you know, they think they're mechanics because they just work on cars, and then that's who you got working these places. It's quite mess. There's no real licence or anything like that. It's just you've done your apprenticeship, or I'm told by other people that haven't done an apprenticeship that once you've worked in the automotive industry 8 years or something, you're deemed qualified or something like that, which Look, I see the truth of that. If you've got enough experience with something, you've learnt enough to know what you're doing, if you know what I mean. So hourly rates, I think anything under 100's a joke. I suppose if you're the kind of person that works really slowly, like so there's a thing called, there's standard repair times, okay? And this is the other thing that's important. For example, replacing a set of brake pads might be 0.8 of an hour. Depends what car and what caliper, what brakes, but let's just say it might be 0.8. It's important to stick to that 0.8. Now, if you're really slow because you just go above and beyond with cleanliness and you spend 2 hours doing brakes instead of, say, 1 hour, you can't just charge double. So maybe you want to reduce your rate and do it that way. But kind of like, why should you? So look, it's quite complex. But what I'm trying to say is, to run a business, one other thing I wanted to touch on, I didn't really finish saying it before. If you're one person in a business, or two people, or three even, it's a small business. So people go, oh, you got low overheads, whatever. Well, think of it this way. There's a lot of tools and equipment you need to work on and diagnose these vehicles correctly. Who's going to pay for that? When you've got a workshop with 20 or 30 technicians, the profit from that hourly rate is spread. It might only take a few bucks an hour out of all those to cover the workshop expenses, including all those tools and equipment. When you've got one hourly rate, for example, myself, that one hourly rate has to make enough money to pay for all those overheads. Okay, so I hope you understand it that way as well. So the smaller business is sometimes disadvantaged. Also, so that's the hourly rate side of it, and that side of it covering the overheads. Remember, we said the business is meant to make a profit, so you don't just charge enough to pay your wages. Now, when with wages, it's not just you get $60 an hour or whatever it might be. You've also got the aspect of everybody gets sick leave, 8 days a year, annual leave, 20 days a year or more, whatever. You got superannuation, you got public holidays. All these costs add, I'd estimate, without sitting here doing the sums currently today, probably 30 to 40% to employ someone. There's other costs and things that go on behind the scenes as well. So if you're paying someone $40 an hour, they're going to be costing you 60 or 70 bucks an hour, okay? So if you're going to pay someone the right money, let's work it backwards. What do I say? They've got to be on 100 grand a year, right? That's 2 grand a week, ballpark figures, right? 2 grand a week. That's 400 bucks a day, $400 a day, an 8 hour day. It's 50 bucks an hour. It's not a lot of money when you bring it back to that, is it? So $50 an hour, okay? To employ them for $50 an hour, it's going to cost you 80 bucks an hour, 85, right? So straight away, your hourly rate, and I'm talking for someone decent, mate. You're not going to employ me for that, okay? It's not going to happen because one person in a business, you can't actually work and charge out 8 hours a day because you've got all the other, remember what I said about the bigger businesses with staff, you've got calls, you've got organising, ordering parts, whatever, so it kind of gets a bit messy, right? So you've got to understand that. Low rates, you're not helping by complaining about the rate, don't look at the rate. All the rates I see are cheap. My opinion is they're too cheap, okay? They're too low. It's the businesses competing with each other. It's their own fault. Everybody needs to get together and go, this is a joke. We've been stuck around private workshops around either side of the $100 an hour for many years now. I'd say probably over 10 years. And the dealerships around the 150 mark, some dealerships are dear. I think there's ones out there that are 180, 200, and good on them, mate. Specialist area stuff. If they want to charge $200 an hour, fine. Just make sure you're doing the right work, good work, and you need to be doing it in the right times as well, okay? So if you're a power steering specialist and you're rebuilding steering rack specialist area and you're good at what you do, and the time it's 2 hours to rebuild that rack or whatever it is, then you charge $220 an hour, 2 hours, $440 plus your parts. That's it, and that's probably what they do. Okay, I don't know. I'm just using an example. Okay, please, guys, think about it before you comment on the hourly rate it being too dear, and then the next sentence you're going to complain about the work that got done. Okay, pay peanuts, you get monkeys. We need to get the hourly rates up there. Maybe something around here, you know what I mean? You might think it's a joke. I know some people aren't going to like it because, the people at the paying end are sitting back going, oh, that much, But look, when you take your vehicle in for a service, if it's a good vehicle like a Toyota, it's generally only going to need an hour or 2 or 3 spent on it. And you're going to do that twice a year. So we're talking about a few $100 twice a year. How many years have you got in your life? It's not really that many. Twice a year, a few $100. Let's say, so you're going to spend $1,000 in labour a year, you know, out of your second biggest investment, you know, $1,000 a year. What do we just say? You know, people are on $100,000 a year. Some are on 50, some are on 20, 30. You know, there's people on big money, right? Now, so I understand there's two aspects to it. The cheaper thing, that's where it doesn't work out for people that want or need cheaper, but that's the cost of owning a motor vehicle. And by trying to keep the cost down, trying to keep it what it was 20 years ago, that's what's hurting the industry. Keeping the price too low, keeps the wages too low. And of course, then you've got the business owners that want to make exorbitant profits, okay? So on the hourly rate, you know, if for example, let's just use an example. So if I was to own a Toyota dealership and I had 20 technicians and I was charging $180 an hour and I was busy and I had awesome technicians there, you'd make sure you had awesome technicians by paying them the right money. You wouldn't be paying them $25 an hour, okay? You got to be paying them, if you charge them $180, you got to be paying them the $60 an hour. So, you know, it's going to cost you close to $100 to employ them. Then you get to make the 80 profit. We know it's not all profit because you got office staff, right? They need to be sort of productive as well. Look, I haven't nutted this out, okay? I'm just making up as I go because some people are sitting there going, oh yeah, that doesn't work, see, 180, there's only 80 left, whatever. I haven't worked it out in exactness. It's just a quick video to just, it's a wake-up call. Hourly rates are a bit of a joke. So if you've got a workshop, in my opinion, if your rate's down around the 100 mark, look, you're not doing yourself or your customers any favours, and you're making it hard for yourself to keep the right staff, which is your business, okay? If you're too cheap, it's not going to work. Now, obviously, if you want to charge rates like $220, you better be damn good. You can't be charging $220 and then overcharging people on time, taking too long, telling them they need things they don't need and not doing things they do need. That doesn't work either, right? So you got to be good. You charge the right rate if you're good. If you've got a good workshop, get the rates right, get the right people in there, pay them the right money, you'll keep them, they'll be happy, everyone will be happy, customers will be happy, and that's what we want. Anyway, guys, I hope that's helped. I reckon I've probably got my point across. Just something to think about with the hourly rates for everyone. The bigger businesses, the smaller business, obviously your rate suits what you do and you're entitled to do whatever you want. You might be happy working for 40 bucks an hour because you're charging 100. You've got to pay your employees, you've got your overheads, you're down to 50 and you sort of just take what's left. Was that the idea of a business? Anyway, something to think about, guys. That is hourly rates, and I just wanted to put that one out there to help all the customers and clients of everyone to understand that's what you're paying for. By complaining about rates, you're trying to put downward pressure on the rates that, in my opinion, are already too low, and I hope I've explained that really clearly why that is. You may disagree, but look, hopefully that's been helpful. More videos coming your way. If you haven't already, subscribe, turn that bell on so you don't miss the next one. And if you got something out of that, please give us a thumbs up so I know I'm headed the right direction, and I'll be looking in the comments. What's your hourly rate if you're running a workshop, and are you considering lowering it or raising it after watching this video? And how much do you pay your technicians, your mechanics? What hourly rate are they on? Be looking in the comments, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.